As the first French heavy with an autoloader, some may find the AMX 5100 to be a difficult tank to adjust to, but believe me when I tell you it is well worth the effort. In order to maximize your experience with this unique piece of military hardware, you must first start with a solid foundation. Coming from the AMX M4 1945, you should already have the 90mm DCA 45 along with the final engine and radio. I recommend using FreeXP to research the suspension to avoid a painful start and enable yourself to use equipment at an earlier point in time. As far as equipment goes, I ran a vertical stabilizer, enhanced gun laying drive, and ventilation with great success. If you're fortunate enough to start training your first crew skill before or during your usage of the 100, I would recommend investing in camouflage, as it will be far more useful than repair in the French tree. Now that the preparation is taken care of, it's time to take a step back and see what you're working with. The 90mm penetrates an average of 212mm while doing around 240 damage. With a fully trained crew and ventilation system, it takes about 46 seconds to load, but can fire 6 rounds spaced 2 seconds apart when it does. Later, you will upgrade to the slower reloading but otherwise superior 100mm SA-47. Fortunately, this won't affect your tactics much. The 100 is encased in a paltry 30mm of armor, on all sides except for the front, which measures up to an equally uninspiring 90mm. This means that just about everything that shoots you will penetrate, and do so for maximum damage. Other aspects of the 100 worth noting are the awful gun depression and elevation that will require creative positioning to overcome. A little forethought and avoidance of this problem will frequently save you a repair bill. The long reload time can also cause problems, but the quick turret rotation, good acceleration, top speed, and maneuverability provide all of the tools you need to compensate for these shortfalls. As a French heavy, there is one thing you can always count on. Most of the other team will shoot you before anyone else. There are a wide variety of tactics and tricks that will help you survive such a tension. Many of them are highly situational, but I will outline a few of the more general ones here to give you a proper head start. One of the classics is sniping. Don't be afraid to sit back and let others do the work if they're already scouting ahead. The 100 can deliver an overwhelming amount of firepower, accurately, from long distances, while the recipient can't even see the source. The biggest risk here is being spotted and focus fired while positioned on top of a ridge or any other unfavorable position you may have simply been using to bring your gun to bear on your opponent. Should you ever find yourself in a situation where you have a low number of rounds left in your clip and enough time to reload before your next engagement, press C to force a reload. This can also be useful if you know the enemy is counting your rounds in order to coax him into an unwelcome surprise. Whether it be 6 shots on one target or 1 shot on 6 targets, the 100 is a fantastic finisher. When you notice the enemy team has a cluster of low-health tanks, it is typically a good idea to flank them and use as many shots as you can to finish them off. At the start of the round, take note of the opposition's fastest tanks and determine whether you can kill them in one clip or not. If you can, then rushing to an advanced position can give your team a great advantage, while often only requiring you to destroy a light or medium tank to secure yourself. It is also worth noting that if your target cannot or most likely will not move, you can continue firing blindly into the enemy's last known location with fantastic results. In some situations, you will be able to avoid using a round or finish a tank while reloading by utilizing your speed to ram your opponent. As a useful tactic for close quarters combat, you can track your opponent to render him immobile, position yourself in a way that lets you shoot him and also limits his ability to fire back. And from here, you simply fire the cannon every time it's loaded until you are out of ammo, at which point the target is hopefully dead. Should you find yourself in the unfortunate situation of having a long reload with the enemy bearing down on you and no support, you have 2 options. First, I would recommend running. With such weak armor, it truly does not matter whether you take a shot in the front or the back. They will damage you. You might as well embrace your nationality and retreat at full speed. If your experience is anything like mine, you'll find this to be a surprisingly effective way of surviving difficult encounters. If you have absolutely nowhere to run, there is only one option left. Act like you're fully loaded. Aggressively advance on your enemy, but be careful not to actually give them a shot. If they push in return, do whatever you can to keep them from having a shot for as long as possible. Once you've mastered the basics and spent enough time on each map, you will develop your own techniques that will allow you to deliver your payload with minimal risk of receiving damage. This concludes my guide to the 5100. If you found it useful, you can find more videos from the Jolly Q channel on YouTube.